Hi, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy, and we're excited about our sponsor, the Elder Law Firm out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Elder Law Firm can help you keep your commitments to your loved ones. So if you have a need for any elder law support, then give Elder Law a phone call at 336-396-4551 or visit them online at elderlawfirm.com for estate and elder care planning. All right, so let's kick the show off today.
But Randy Wooden, I'm the director for our professional center by Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, right here in formerly, and I guess still snow-ridden, the frozen tundra of Winston-Salem. We had 2 or 3 inches of snow, sleet, and other crud that fell recently, and more on the way. But listen, if you're a professional or you know one that may be in a job search, have them reach out to me. We're happy to help. Our services are free, and we've helped many, let's just leave it at that, over the years. And one of the highlights of the week, at least for me anyway, is to get a chance to sit down with Teddy and have, I'll call it a lunch and a learn, where we can kind of guide the conversation. And this week is no exception. And so I'll throw it back to you, Teddy, and we can get things started.
We're at what is this, show 92 or 93, man?
Yeah, it's getting close to 100, just like my age.
Yeah. We're getting up there. Check with my parole officer to see if I'm clear now. I mean, maybe, but I'll probably keep doing it anyway, because unlike you, man, this is a lot of fun. We get, meet some really cool people and share some cool ideas from other people. So, hey, for those of you who have never met me, I'm Teddy Burris. I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. Been running Burris Consulting since December 15th, 2010. We're all about helping business professionals and business owners and entrepreneurs and even job seekers figure out how to use LinkedIn as a business tool. Have a blast doing it. And then, every week, Randy and I get together. We get together twice. We do a Monday show that's a 15-minute recorded thing we put out. And then we also do this. And the cool thing about this Wednesday show is we get to bring in really, really smart people. Randy, you and I can testify. I need smart people around me all the time, man.
Absolutely. And before we dive into today's topic and introduce our guest, just a few housekeeping things. Teddy, I will be the master of the chat area today. I'm going to give myself a new job title. I'm going to call it Director of the Chat. The Chat Director. That'll be me.
You can change if you have right there on the screen and make it say that.
The Chat Director. So in any event, did my microphone just?
It dropped a little bit, buddy, but you're good.
I think it did. That's weird. Okay.
There you are.
Do this. All right, let's try that. That'll help. All right. So now I had some technical difficulties. Are we back now?
Good.
Okay, good.
All right. So Randy will monitor the chat.
Monitor the chat box.
Yeah, and let me introduce you to our special guest, Ann Hauser. Ann's the CEO of ActionCOACH-Team Hauser out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, serving way beyond just Winston-Salem. She's been her team has been the global top 100 coaches for 5 years. And ranks in the top 20 in the U.S. And there are way more than 20 action coaches in the U.S. I think that, factorially, but a bigger group, because it's a really cool company. Ann, would you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. So, I'm Ann Hauser. And you know what I thought was really interesting, Teddy? You just said you started your business back in 2010 in December. I came out of training and got certified as an action coach in November of 2010. So we are on the same track. Action Coach is a white collar franchise. It's been, I guess it's now in about 80 some odd countries around the world. And I am honored to be a master coach within the Action Coach franchise. And that means I train the new coaches that come on board, and I can coach new coaches. And that's another new passion that I've had in the last year or two since COVID hit, helping other coaches, because the more people out there, then the more businesses that get served. And we help business owners with everything that has nothing to do with their product or service, everything from finance to marketing to team building and leadership skills, how to take your company and really make it the best it can be. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into the talking points and the show in detail, I always ask each guest, and you're no exception, Maryann, what's the why for you? You had a career prior to this and you made a purposeful change. So help us understand the motivation and the why behind that.
Yeah. So, you told me you were going to ask me that. And
I did.
Now, I don't often go back to that time period, but there were a couple of things. I actually think that the law of attraction and the way the universe works, it makes things happen when they need to happen. And so I knew that our company was expanding and growing when in the job that I had. I ran marketing for a global pharmaceutical company. And they were merging with another company, and I had an opportunity to relocate or not relocate. In hindsight, I probably wasn't the best out of the two companies. The other woman who ran marketing for the company that was merging, actually, I think she was the better candidate. And it took me some maturity to actually figure that out. But 2 days after my last day, and I had months notice that, when my last day would be, 2 days after my last day, my mom got seriously ill. And I got to sit by her bedside for 2 whole months and hold her hand and talk to her and ask her all the questions I never asked. And that was the best gift I ever got. But during that time, my youngest son was graduating from 8th grade. And I showed up for a couple of events for the graduation ceremony. And several people said, "It's really interesting to meet you, Maryann. I thought you were dead. I thought Kurt was a widower."
Wow.
And it was because my husband was the stay-at-home dad for years, and I was the breadwinner. And I said to myself, nobody would have said that to a man if he showed up at graduation and they had seen mom with the cupcakes at every birthday party. And that was a big eye-opener for me. And I decided I didn't want to be away from my kids anymore. And my job took me all over the globe. I ran global marketing for a pharmaceutical firm. And so I looked at lots of opportunities. And when Action Coach came out, I fell in love with their culture. I loved what they do. Their vision, their mission was awesome. But when I read their 14 points of culture, I knew that was the company I needed to work for.
Real cool. Real cool. Yeah. I've heard part of that story before. You didn't tell me the widow thing, or widow, but I have heard part of that story before, and I remember that. So, and you're right, it is a gift when you can both make it happen and it happens for you. So, all right. So, Maryann, when you and I first talked, I had a thought that the title of this conversation was going to be, you can be an employer or an employee. It's your choice. But you gave me some more ideas about it. And so we're titling it now, Building Business Momentum. And building business momentum applies to all of us, whether we are a business owner, an employee, or a job seeker. And you and I talked a little bit about my philosophy about job search as a business. So let's peel back the layers of business momentum and building momentum and talk about how that applies.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in and do that, but I do want to address the employer or employee, because I know that there's a lot of people that join this webinar because they are job seekers, because that's what Randy's secret sauce is. But you have a choice, and that was the choice I had to make when I was released from the position I had. Do I go back and get another job, or do I branch out and do something on my own? And so far, what we've heard through COVID is so many more people are taking the track of starting something that is new and building these businesses. And you do have a choice. You can, when you are unemployed, you can choose to get a career, stay in your career, or you can chase something that's a little different and maybe a little bit wigglier than going out and getting a job and starting a business. And if anybody wants to understand those choices, there are some guidance I'll give people if they want to step out and take that risk. How much protection do you have? Do you have enough cash flow to keep you going until your business gets started? So there's some boxes that you have to check. But it's a great point, so that if there's anybody on this call that's trying to figure out, maybe I don't want a job, I'd love to sit down and talk to them and just give them a little bit of advice on how to get started. But my normal clientele are business owners who have been in business for 3 to 5 years. They have, on the low end, 3 to 5 employees. And we talk about momentum. How do you get momentum? And momentum, if you think about it, momentum is a force that's created by movement, right? That's this most simplified definition I think I could find when we discussed that we were going to chat about this. And so this is Action Coach. It's not Theory Coach. Action is about movement, right? So how do you get momentum? Well, unfortunately, a lot of people walk into my office and they're burned out. There's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of movement, but they're exhausted because they're not doing it right? They're working in their business and all the time and don't even give a little bit of time to work on their business. So we have a formula, if I'm at liberty to share it, and it's D times G times L times P times A. Dreams times goal times learn times plan times action equals success. And the learn part, that middle one, it used to be dreams, goal, plan, act. But what we found is so many people don't know how to plan what they want to do. So everything starts with a dream. And we'll start with, what's our current reality? And then I have people focus on their desired new reality, right? And it's a dream. The bigger the dream, the better. Yeah. And then we can set some goals that are, more like SMART goals. And I think most of your audience knows what a SMART goal is. And then it's what do we have to learn before we write the plan?
Yeah.
And there's that step in between. And when business owners are struggling, and something we hear so often today is you can't find good people. We post a job and nobody responds. And my first question is, what did you do to learn how to hire the best people? Yeah. Right? So it's that learn step before you put your plan in place. And then you take action. And that's where you get your momentum. Because if you don't have that dream fueling all of the other steps, you're not going to get to that momentum. Did that make sense?
It does. So dream times your goal, times your times learning, times planning, times action. Add all that up and you can achieve your goal. And that's going to work not only in business, but that's going to work in job search.
Yes.
Because if you don't know where you want to go, if you haven't dreamed about where you want to go, and if you haven't set that BHAG, Maryann, you know what BHAG means, and I bet you know what that A is in a previous generation. Big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yep.
And then if you're going to set a big, hairy, audacious goal, you better learn and you better use SMART, achievable, relevant. I missed it.
With a time frame.
Time frame. You better have SMART goals to help you get there. I'm with you. And again, it's job search and business. That all applies.
And you know what? It's also life. When we're starting a business, or even if we have a job and it's time to do planning in our career, but we don't plan our lives. So many people spend more time planning their Disney vacation than they do planning out what they want from life. And so much of what we share is, and what's the book you're going to hold up? Designing Your Life. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That you're right. We've spent Disney vacations. Oh my God, the slack in conversations about a Disney vacation were just phenomenal. But you're right. We don't plan and design our life. Absolutely.
Hey, Teddy, didn't you guys go down to Disney a while back?
I'm talking about the Slack conversation, man. It was unreal. It was never ending.
Yeah. He actually lived that conversation in the last couple three. Hey, I got to ask you, Maryann, you've got some little figurines behind you there. Since Teddy went to get a book, I can't let you off the hook. What's that behind you? What you've got some action figures and what all is that anyway?
Action Coach is an Australian-based company. Brad Sugars, who is our founder, he was born in Australia, and those are called Action Men, and those are actually toys that were popular in Australia. And when he started the company, he started these awards called Action Man Awards. And they are not based on the typical metrics for, the number one coach or anything. They're given to coaches who embody the culture of Action Coach, who help other coaches on their journey to be successful. And they only usually award a few every year. And there are about 3,000 plus coaches on the planet. And I've been a coach for 10 years, and I'm very, very proud of the fact that I have been awarded 2. And then there's a little kind of weird little munchkin figurine. And he was actually a small business owner that participated in the Center for Creative Economies accelerator program. And he was making custom stuffed animals that were really unique. And he was actually granted a bunch of money to see if he could meet the demand if he had a huge order come in. And so one of the other mentors in the Center for Creative Economy paid for everybody in a room of about 200. Everybody could order 2, and he had to deliver them in a certain time frame, and she would fund the whole thing so that he would learn how to gain momentum in building his business. And it's just a cute little toy. But yeah, one of our points of culture is fun. And if you're not having fun, then you're in the wrong job. So Action Coach has got a lot of stuff that's all about fun.
So I can see by your reaction that you really dig what you do. And Teddy, we have a comment question, so I'll throw that out.
Yeah, man.
Don asks this: how did you make the mindset transition from the corporate world of macro dollars, big budgets, big dollars, to the world of small business and micro dollars comparatively?
It's the same. We say that we have something called a business chassis, and it's the formula that a business runs on. And so if you talk to me, there's lots of formulas, but it doesn't matter if it's a major corporation, and the company I worked with at the time was several $1 billion to start, and it grew to tens of billions of dollars by the time I left. Learning how to put a budget together, working on your plan, writing the monthly reports for corporate America, those same skills transfer to a small plumbing business or to a physical therapy business. We have to have an organizational chart in corporate America. We have to have an organizational chart. Even if you're a company of 1 or 2 people, I make my clients build an org chart on where do they want to go. So it feels like it's very different, but it's not. It's the same skill set. Because corporate America, in my job, every 90 days, the board from Germany marched in, and we had to give them the results from the previous quarter and the goals for the new quarter. Well, if a small business doesn't do that, and they're just on the hamster wheel, answering the phone, delivering the order, answering the phone, delivering the order, they're never going to get out of that phase, and they'll never figure out how to grow. So the same way you prepare for a board meeting in corporate America, we have the tools that make it a whole lot simpler for business owners to put those same processes in place for their own business. In fact, we just finished an all-day workshop over at the Grayling Conference Center, and we had 11 business owners join us because I think there were about 20 scheduled, but due to COVID, it was our smallest group ever, which allowed us to socially distance, so I guess that was good. But we walked through, and everyone left that full day workshop with a business plan for 90 days.
Yep. I remember going through that. So let's talk about this next piece, Maryann. So we can create momentum. And I like your formula. I'm going to put that formula in a graph and a graphic and share that with the group. It's a very simple graphic. Building momentum is important, but you can't build momentum on sand. You got to have a decent foundation. Again, job search and business, the same thing applies. Let's talk about building the right foundation.
So when we look at any business that walks through the door, the foundation, and we call it the mastery level of what we do, it includes destination, right? So that's the vision. Where do you want the company to go, right? It's the ultimate destination. It should be aspirational and inspirational, right? It should get you motivated. It should be something that's really hard to get to. It's not something that's easy, right? So if you think about Microsoft, way back when their vision was a computer on every desk. Well, you can close your eyes and see that. That's what a vision should be. Sure. And then your mission is, how do you get there? And then the culture is, how do we behave along the journey while we're trying to get to that vision? So those are the 3 parts of destination mastery. Then we have also in our foundation is financial mastery. And that's not just your typical profit and loss statement and your balance sheet. And for the very small few who understand and run and actually look at their cash flow statement, that's another, nobody looks at that. But cash is king in business. So financial mastery also are the key performance indicators and the metrics within your financial portfolio that you have to understand. And then it's also, I just lost my train of thought. It's the key performance indicators, and then it's understanding, like, what is a break-even analysis in your business? And what is an acquisition cost? What does it cost you to acquire a customer? Because believe it or not, marketing is buying customers. So we've got all these formulas that go into our financial mastery, and those are 2 of the 4. The other one is time mastery. Yeah. Because if somebody broke into our wallet and stole $100, we'd be pretty annoyed. But people walk up and steal an hour of our time. And as a business owner or even an employee, your time is worth somewhere between $50 an hour for most people and $100 or maybe more. And you let people take your time all day long. And so that's really important. Yeah.
Wait, Randy, before you ask Mary Ann, what's the 4th? Destination, financial, time,
and delivery. How consistently do you deliver your product or service?
Yeah. Something that you probably deal with too. You just talked about essentially giving away time, and I'll use the term free consulting. Now, not all the time, but very often, particularly in marketing, in sales, an employer will ask a candidate to put together a 90-day plan, or to basically, how do you solve my problem? And they're asking essentially for free help. And I would imagine to some degree, you probably get hit with that same question. And it's, like if I go to a party or I'm somewhere like, hey, what do you think about, and that's fine to do that. But if I'm a candidate, I don't know if you have any thoughts on how job seeker folks might want to deal with the same issue you have, which is they want to get to you for free consulting. And do you have any guidance on how to deflect that conversation? Because it certainly comes up with my clients.
Yeah. So if somebody were to stop me at a party and ask me a bunch of questions and advice about a business or even about their career, I'll say, let's jump on a call. I try not to solve their problem ever while we're in that social setting, right? Especially drinking, right? And I love to talk, if you haven't figured that one out yet. So I have to make sure that I have it framed the right way and that I'm careful about the advice I give. So I'll ask them to schedule, and I have a Calendly appointment. It's on my card. I can say, just go to my Calendly and book 15 minutes or a half hour. I'm happy to spend some time. I'll give them the outline. I'll tell them that I understand the challenge, and I will give them just enough so that they know I have the solution. But if I give them all the answers, they'll never be a client.
Yeah.
So
same thing. Yeah.
You've just got to give them an outline of, here's some of the areas I might consider. And, if you really want me to sit down and give you the plan, you can even sell the plan to them, because if they want you to do it for free, say, I'm happy to create the plan and you can be a consultant while you're in your job search mode, right? I'm happy to deliver that plan. I can do it for you for X dollars. It'll take me 2 weeks to get it to you. Would that work? And then you can say at the end of it, you can decide if I'm the right candidate that you'd want to hire full time.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mary Ann. Give, if in that scenario of a hiring manager saying, give me a plan, give them 5 bullet points. Tell them about mastery. I can help you with the mastery. I can help you with, destination mastery, financial mastery, time mastery, and delivery mastery, but don't tell them how.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. So good point. So here's another thing you and I talked about, marketing. If you have a business, and if I like the way you said it. You said marketing is like having a baby. You gotta feed it. And and this again applies to all of us, because whether we're in business or we're an employee or we're in job search, we have to be marketing, and that is marketing to the right people who we are and what we do. Speak about that a little bit, about feeding that baby.
So when you deal with small businesses, most of the time and that's one of the key questions I ask when we sit down, tell me a little bit about your marketing budget and how it's laid out. Where are you spending your marketing dollars? And what do you think the answer is more often than not?
You don't have any.
I don't have any, right? Yeah. And I'll say, well, then how much has your business grown, right? If you're not growing more than 10% a year, then you're basically stagnant, right? Because cost of goods are going up, cost of services are going up, your employees want raises. And if your business isn't growing 10% a year, you're going backwards. And they say, well, I don't need to market because I get all referrals. Yeah. Well, all of a sudden those referrals can dry up. If we even think about the construction industry way back when in the 2008 timeframe, it was going gangbusters, and then the economy took a dip and everybody's pipeline dried up. But the people who were marketing made it through. And whether you're marketing for to find a job or whether you're marketing to find more clients, you have to identify who's your target. Mm-hmm. So many people go through and they'll answer every job listing that they see on Indeed. And I actually think they need to find out, where do they want to work? Mm-hmm. Who is, where would you be happy? What are the companies you want to work for? And then plan your outreach to those organizations that you think you'd be a really good fit for. Don't just take what comes to you. And that happens in business too. People take what comes to them. The phone rings. Yes, I can take that, but they might not be the people who pay on time. They're not the target market that really is their solid fit. So understanding your target market is important. But in today's world, there's so much marketing you can do that's effort versus dollars. So for the smaller businesses that don't have big dollars, Teddy can teach them how to make their LinkedIn profile rock, and they can get clients from there. We get tons of clients from our LinkedIn profile and our Facebook Messenger and the outreach that we do. Google business page is another, if somebody hasn't aligned their Google page, that's something that they should learn how to do. And I think Teddy can teach you how to do it. We have a little bit of insight on how to do it. I'm not the marketer. I'm not the financial planner. I'm going to tell you where you need to work, what you need to learn about, and then get you the resources that will help you get your business to the next level.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mary Ann. It drives me crazy when I look at someone's LinkedIn profile, in business or a job seeker, and I look at their activity page and there's nothing. It's a desert island. I'm like, you're missing the opportunity to market to your target audience, and tell them who you are and what you do, what you can do to serve them. So you're on
our definition of good marketing, though, and this is one step further into marketing, is no price competition. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't compete on price. You have to understand what makes you unique and have a really clearly defined, unique selling proposition. And then you'll never have to worry about your competition.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. And today our special guest is a good friend of mine, Mary Ann Hauser, out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Great conversations about business. The conversations really structured around building business momentum, but these conversations so far have applied to all of us in business and career search, whatever. So, Mary Ann, this is good conversation. Are you ready to keep going?
I am.
Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about business momentum. We talked about the right foundation. We talked about marketing and getting our message out to the right people, the right message. Let's talk about systems. And remember, when we chatted about this the last time, I said, Mary Ann, systems are important with everybody, not just businesses. So let's talk about how complicated is it to implement systems?
So, I mentioned earlier, I came out of the world of pharmaceutical marketing, and there was nothing more important than SOPs in the pharmaceutical industry.
Wait a minute. You got to tell the world what SOP means.
A standard operating procedure. We even had a standard operating procedure to teach you how to create a standard operating procedure so that everything was laid out. And so when people think about systems, if they've come from a corporate background, they think, oh my goodness, it has to be really complicated. But, Teddy, there's a little watering hole in downtown Winston that you and I may have bumped into each other a time or two. And in the kitchen of this specific business, it was a restaurant. There was a little bit of discussion about how at the end of the day, some of the people who work there clean it up beautifully and it looks amazing when we come in and we unlock the door in the morning, and other times it looks a mess. So the system was, take a picture of what it looks like when it's perfect. Open the cabinets. This is what it looks like when it's organized. And we laminated those pictures and put them on the door. So when you open the door to leave the kitchen for the night, the question said, does the kitchen look like this? Turn around. Does it look like this? That was a system. It's a photograph. A system can be a checklist. Systems are the way you leverage your business. So if you want to get more out of less, so one of our definitions for systems is ever more with ever less. If you want to get more out of less effort, you need a system, right? Do it once, get paid forever. If you don't write it down, you're destined to do it yourself forever. Those are some of the things that come to mind when I think about systemization. But systemizing and leveraging in your business, you can do that through people, right? Hire some more people. That will be a way to leverage and grow your business. You can do it through education. Educate the people you have and make them smarter. That's a way to leverage and systemize your business. Some people say, but Mary Ann, if I spend money educating my team, they might leave. Well, the only thing worse is having a bunch of stupid employees. Right? So let's spend the money and invest, and that keeps your employees. It's all intertwined. This might be talking about systems, but if you don't have systems to manage your team, they might not stay.
Yeah. I talked to a lady. I talked to a lady a couple of days ago who quit the job she was at because they were so dysfunctional. They had no systems. And she said, I can't live in that. I go home exhausted. And so I get it. And these systems, again, and now this is one of the things I teach for career seekers, and Randy talks about it a lot. What's your process for finding that next conversation, to find that next opportunity, to be able to get to that interview? I mean, are you just banging on Indeed and Monster and Career Builder and hoping and praying? Or do you have a system to get you, because you talked about this earlier. You talked about law of attraction, and that applies in job search as well. Because if you're hanging around with the people that you want to work with, you're more likely to find opportunities. If you're hanging around with your drinking buddies all day long or sitting on the couch, watching Dr. Phil, you're not going to get there. So this whole conversation about implementing systems is, and by the way, not just business, not just career, but life.
Yep. One of the things, Brad Sugars, who started Action Coach, one of the things he said at one of the events I went to where he was speaking, and he said, if you think about it, you usually make between 5 or 10% plus or minus the, top 5 to 10 people you spend the most time with, excluding family. And so if you are hanging with a crowd of people who had the job you had and you're trying to get to the next level, it's what are the networks? Where do you have to be? What do you have to join so that you can be in an environment that will allow you to make the change and take a step up?
Yeah. Let me, if I could throw in here a little bit and draw some parallels between what you do and how you market your business and your services to a job hunter and how they would market themselves. What are some things that you have found to be effective in terms of raising awareness of you, the quality that you provide? In other words, your branding maybe is another way to look at it. And what parallels can you draw to that of a job hunter? What are some advice, tips, that kind of a thing to say, hey, if you're going to create a brand, here are some steps you may want to consider starting sooner versus later?
That's a really good question. And this, it's funny because a lot of it ties back to social and digital marketing, right? One of the easiest ways to get connected with someone is to create a short video and put that video right into your email and send it out to them. So if I wanted to work for, I'm going to think of a company in downtown, Haynes or Inmar or one of them. And I decided I'd love to have a job right here in downtown Winston. I don't have to commute anymore. Wouldn't it catch someone's attention? Instead of just sending them a letter, you can send them a video email and say, I've mailed you a letter with my resume. Here's my background and here's why I'm a good fit. And you keep the video under a minute and you send it out to the people who you'd like to work for. I bet you'll get a phone call, right? So that's how we engage with new business owners. Oftentimes we'll create small videos and I'll put the video link right into a LinkedIn message or right into a Facebook message so that if somebody opens it up, they see Mary Ann talking right to them. They know what I'm like. They understand. They understand my demeanor and the way I come across and the way I present myself. And boy, isn't that a great heads up for an employer? In fact, one of the things we actually do too, Randy, is we help companies hiring. And one of the things we do is when they get their pool of like the top 20 candidates, we actually ask the candidates to create a video and we give them 3 questions to answer and send that video back. Now, if somebody was applying for that job and they had sent a video in right out of the get-go and we didn't even have to ask them for it, you don't think they'd be at the top of the list of people we'd want to talk to in person?
Yeah. Also, references and personal. I mean, I'm sure a lot of your business, or at least a good portion of it, is based on referrals from existing happy customers. And if you could talk a little bit about how that, again, translates to a job hunter and leveraging existing contacts and any advice or encouragement you could give in that area.
Well, if I think about the people who give me the most referrals, before they send somebody to talk to me, and they don't always do what they're instructed to do. They'll say, Mary Ann's my coach. Here's her LinkedIn page. Here's her Google My Business or whatever. They'll give them some links to my social. If you think she'd be a good fit for you, I can tell you she's been a good fit for me. And if Teddy called it a desert, right? You go to their social site and it's a desert. If I had a desert for my social site, that would be a problem. So we have testimonials. You go to my LinkedIn and there are testimonial videos right there of people who have been clients. You could have a testimonial video from a previous employer that you have a great relationship with or a previous coworker and put that right on your LinkedIn page so that when somebody's looking to work for you, and there's the, check the boxes on, do you recommend Teddy for public speaking or for XYZ? If you've got people who filled that out, that also speaks volumes to the person who's looking for, checking out that candidate.
I like how you talk about putting a short video up in the near the top, right below the summary section. I forget what is that? It's like, what is that called? It's called
features,
what is that?
The features section,
as opposed to having the buried in the recommendations at the bottom. And that's all well and good to have those. But I don't think they're as impactful as an actual video that would show up much higher in the profile. So I think that's excellent advice. Teddy, back to you.
Yeah. I'll add this, though, Mary Ann, that often job seekers will use these newfangled tools that we're talking about. And so their video message, their featured section message will be all about, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. And they don't make it focus to the deliverable and the value that they bring.
So because what they have to do, and this is everybody's favorite radio station. You know what it is, Teddy?
I do. And Randy used to work there. It's called With 'em.
WIIFM, right? So every video that you create, if it's me creating it, it has to be what's in it for the listener, not who's Mary. Nobody cares who Mary Ann is. Nobody cares what I did before this. They care what I can do for them, right?
Today.
What's in it for them. And that's what the content has to be. And if you can get somebody else to say what Mary Ann can do or what Teddy can do, right? And they're creating the video for you, that's got value.
That's huge value. All right, Mary Ann, this is great. I think we got time for one more big one. So we're developing our momentum. We've got our foundation in place. We're learning how to market ourselves, and we're figuring out how to implement systems, whether in business or career search or life. But you know what? We can't do it alone. I mean, you all know, I know everything. You all, both of you, I know everything. No, that's not true. So how do we get past that problem where I don't know everything?
Right. I mentioned it earlier that more often than not, people walk in the door because they're burned out. They have the plan, they have the system, and they don't know what to do first. Or they try to do everything and they do everything poorly because they didn't focus on prioritizing the action items. So if we go back to that formula, here's another great formula. D times V plus F has to be greater than R. What are the three most important things you want to do today is the question I'll ask them, right? And so they'll give me one and I'll say, okay, so this is something you'd like to do. What are you dissatisfied about? What is the dissatisfaction that makes you want this thing, right? Then what's the vision? What is the vision of this thing when it's all done? Then at the end of the formula is R, resistance. What's holding you back right now? And then what's the first steps? So it's D times V plus F has to be greater than R. And they don't know what the first steps are. And so when I sit down, I'll review somebody's whole set of goals and objectives, and I'll say, okay, let's prioritize them. I don't ever want someone to have more than 3 goals for a quarter and more than 1 or 2 action items that they need to take this week to move their business forward. Because if they achieve one simple strategy every week for 52 weeks, it's all about, you've all read Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, I'm sure. It's all about little baby steps. Yep. And even our formula for how to increase profitability when it comes to marketing is all about baby steps to get you to the windfall that you need in your business. And you're so busy answering the phone and running on that treadmill and trying to do everything and be everything. You just need that time to be still and have somebody look at the forest for you're in that forest and you can't see the forest for the trees because you're down below. I'll come in, look at the whole process that your business is, because every business has a process, even if it's a screwy process. And I'll say, this is what needs to be adjusted. This is what needs to be tweaked. And if you don't have a paid coach, find somebody, and not the person you sleep with, not your significant other. Find somebody who has done it before you, find a mentor, get somebody that you can talk to, because the loneliest thing is running a business and not having somebody to listen.
Hey, Randy, 1 second, just so I'm clarifying, Mary Ann said, you don't want the person you sleep with or your significant other to help you with this. Is that what I...
Well, you never know.
It's a big world, but I'll draw a parallel again to the job hunter. And hey, I all I need is a resume and Indeed, and I'm good to go. And we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we can get that tunnel vision that says, well, I guess if I just keep doing the same thing more often, I'll get better results.
Get a bigger truck.
And if I'm hearing you're saying, let's be a little smarter about this. Maybe we need to bring in help. By the way, I'm sure there's some folks watching that may have an interest in having further conversation with you. So get your pen, pencil, paper, whatever handy, because I know, Teddy, you're going to put that in the chat area. And I've got to ask you, because I'm sure other people might wonder, is there like a free consultation? How does that work, or what's that process look like if I am a small business owner or thinking about it, and I get knee deep in this and go, holy cow, what did I get myself into?
Right. So what I do is invisible. So unless you sit down and talk to me about your business or your idea, a lot of times you really can't figure out how is it really going to work for me. So we do up to an hour and a half complimentary coaching session. And because I'm giving up an hour and a half of my time, there's a little bit of work that people have to do on the front end. So I'm going to ask them to fill out a business background questionnaire. It takes about 20 minutes, and that allows them to think about their business in a way they might not have thought about it before. And then it allows me to go in and do some research on their industry and where they are, so that when we do spend our hour and a half together, it's as productive as possible. They can reach out to me. I have a Calendly link. So anybody who's familiar with Calendly, it's calendly.com/Coach Hauser. My email is maryannhauser@actioncoach.com. And if you go to coachhauser.com, that's my website. And if you just put Mary Ann Hauser, Winston-Salem, and you Google me, there's all kinds of stuff.
All the good stuff shows up.
Yes, and it's also in the chat area. Teddy's posted that, so
I did.
If you have further conversation you'd like to have, wow, we have from South Africa. We have Jeff from South Africa. Yeah. That's the first attendee I think we've had from South Africa.
I think it is the first one. Now, Jeff and I have connected before. Mary Ann introduced me to him years ago. He's a good guy. Okay. He's another one of those action coach guys that gives of his time freely and appropriately. And I good conversations. So, Jeff, thanks for being my first South Africa guest or audience. Appreciate it. So, Mary Ann, the last tip, just let's talk about this one quickly, just for a few minutes. Scaling. So I've got this thriving LinkedIn strategist business, and it's working great. And but the next thing you got to do, whether you're in business or you're trying to develop and grow your career, you've got to learn to scale. Talk about scale for a few minutes.
Well, scaling for me comes down to team, right? And there's a lot of people that think I can't afford to hire. Well, saving a wage is costing you a fortune if you're a business owner, right? You think I'm going to save that wage and I'm going to do the work myself. And that's where businesses stagnate. The minute you bring on team, you can take a breath, you get more clarity on where you want to go. And understanding when is the right time to hire, who is the right person to come on board first, how many new clients does that person have to help me bring on so that they pay for themselves. Yeah. So when I look at bringing on a team member, I calculated in, okay, 3 more clients and we can afford this, or 5 more clients and we can afford that. If you have a lower priced, average dollar sale, it's how much business will this person either be able to bring in for me or allow me to bring in because they've taken some of the other heavy lifting off my plate. And once you've got that initial scaling going, it gets easier and easier. Most people think I'm working so hard, I really don't want to grow because I'm going to have to work harder. And what they don't realize is the bigger your business grows, actually the less work the owner does. Yeah. Because you've got a team to help you do that lifting. I work a whole lot less now than I did when you and I first met back in the days at the Piedmont Club, because I've got an awesome team behind me that actually do all the heavy lifting so that I can do best what I do best. Yeah,
I'm with you. And I think it's important to think about that whole idea of, well, who are the resources I'm bringing into my business? Who are the resources that I'm bringing into my career search? Because one of the most powerful resources you can have available to you is the people that love, care, trust, and respect you and want to help you. And, even beyond being an employee, and you do it right, you network right, you've got an army of people out there who are selling for you.
Yep, between your network and today, more so than ever, and it's even gotten more since COVID hit, you can get people virtually to do lots of the heavy lifting. You don't have to bring in an FTE, which is a full-time employee. You can, buy a block of time from a virtual assistant to take some things off your plate. Even if you're trying to change careers and you've got a full-time job, you can hire a virtual assistant if you've got a system on what companies you want to go after. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what your goal is, the more people that you have helping you and lifting you up through that process, the easier it is.
And there's a KPI analysis to investing money in the right resources to get you to that next job. Because if you get a job 3 months faster than you thought you would have, that's 3 months worth of income that you didn't have before.
Absolutely.
We got to think about that. Mary Ann, this is good stuff. I really am glad you showed up today. And would you take what we just talked about and take a couple minutes and give us 2 or 3 points that if they didn't hear this, they better hear it now.
So I've given you a lot of formulas.
Yeah.
And if they didn't write it down, and that's something I should have said in the beginning, is make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper. So if you didn't do it this time, I'm sure they can go on your social and watch the recording of this. But if it ain't in writing, it don't mean nothing, was something somebody told me a long time ago. So any plan, any goal, right? If you look at the initial formula, dream, goal, learn, plan, act, if you can write out your dreams, write out your goals, make a list of the things you have to learn, the books you have to read, and then put your plan in place, you are going to be light years ahead of the competition, whether it's the competition searching for a job or whether it's, the competition who's competing with you in your industry, in your business. Everybody has to, get off the treadmill, stop working. Business is not busyness, right? Yeah. Business is slowing down and taking the time to strategize about where you want to go so you get to the right place at the end of all this effort.
Yeah, real good stuff. Mary Ann, again, thank you very much for joining us today.
I want to thank you because I was so honored to be invited. Randy and Teddy are legends in Winston-Salem. And when Teddy picked up the phone and invited me, I was beyond honored to participate. I hope that the audience got something out of it. And anytime you want to have me back, I would love to come back and chat with you, Jen.
Real good. I got to come down and visit now that I know where you and your sidekicks and your team hang out. I got to come say hi to Team Hauser here soon. So hang tight. Randy, do you have a story, buddy?
I don't know. I'll make one up. How does that sound? And I always, our show, the genesis of the show was job hunter and job search kind of stuff. And it's morphed into many things related to business, professional development, improvement. In this case, business owners needing to improve processes and to see things into the future. And the parallel I want to draw here is in someone's ability to imagine themselves in that next space, whether it's in a job search, they all they know is I need a job, and they're that hamster wheel, just like you said. I pick up the phone, I do the order, pick up the phone, do the order, pick up the phone, and that's all they know. That's all they can envision because they've not seen or been exposed to what things could be. And we become our own self-limiting person because, again, we don't know what we don't know, and we only know what's around us. So unless we seek out help from whether it's Teddy or me or somebody from a job search standpoint or somebody like you from, okay, I've got a business, I'm a hamster on the wheel. Can I see life being better and more prosperous, or am I confined and resigned to this because that's all I know? And I think you can bring in some of those outside experiences to say, hey, life can be better. And I'll draw one more quick parallel, and I'll throw it over to Teddy, and that's the word hope. A lot of job hunters have no hope for whatever reason. I'm too old. I don't have the right education. I have too many jobs. I haven't worked in a while. And part of my role and Goodwill's role is to provide hope and a game plan to get there so they see the incremental progress that they're making. and maybe some of your clients run into that same thing, is I've kind of given up hope. I guess this is as good as it gets and I'm drowning and life's got to get better, but I don't know how it's going to happen. So I see you providing not just the groundwork and the map, but also the hope and the encouragement to say, you can get there and we can help you. So I'll leave it at that. Teddy, I know you've got a story or so, and we've got a really cool guest coming up next week. We want to mention that.
I'll let you talk about that in a moment. I'm with you, Randy. You got to have hope. You got to believe. If you're at the point where you don't have hope and you don't believe, you're at what I refer to as you're burned out. You're totally burned out, which, by the way, was the note I wrote for my story today. I mean, I run into people, and, you know, Randy, I know you do as well, and in job search, and Marianne in business, where we're burned out. And I use the word we're because I've been there. I have been burned out. And I'm like, why do I keep doing this? And for many reasons, the reason we get burned out is because, as you said, we don't have hope. We don't believe in ourselves. And furthermore, we're trying to do too much ourselves. We're putting way too much on our backs in our hamster wheel. And we're not willing or able to reach out and ask for help. And I think that I know for a fact in business that reaching out and asking for help is important. My business is factually better today than it ever would have been if I would have believed that I could do it all by myself. And I also know in job search, you can't do it yourself. You can't stare in front of that screen all day long, looking at Monster and Indeed and Simply Hired and Career Builder and all that crap, and click, 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 apply, because you will burn out. You will lose hope. You will no longer believe. You will believe you are worthless. And by the way, we're having somebody coming on in a couple of weeks to talk about this, the mental health of job search. So don't get that way. If you get to the point where you're totally burned out and you're feeling like you're worthless, I offer for Randy as well myself, reach out to us, reach out to Marianne and have a conversation about how to overcome burnout. We may not have all the answers, but we can motivate you and help you figure out how to get there. So Marianne, my good friend, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Randy, anything else we got? Oh, you want to introduce our speaker for next week, dude?
Most certainly.
Yeah, man.
Hey, we started this show when COVID hit, Marianne. COVID hit, March of 2020. And so I called Teddy and said, let's have some fun since we're all confined to quarters. So we did a show, and it was the two of us. And, you know, two old guys talking about job hunting. I mean, yeah, they might be nice once, but after a while, nobody has a stomach for that. So we thought, let's bring in a guest.
4/17, dude. 4/17.
Okay, April 17th. So our second show featured a guest, and her name is Oriel Hope. Oriel will be our guest coming up next week on the 26th. Oriel is executive in the human resources arena, and we're going to talk about how technology has impacted how the human resources function within organizations, not just toward candidates, but also toward employees. What's changed, whether it's the systems, whether it's the mindset and the interpersonal activity, if you will, but also just as an added twist, Oriel is also a recent job hunter. She just took on a new job, so she'll be able to comment on what it looks like from her perspective as a job hunter as well. So join us next week. That'll be the 26th at 11:55 Eastern time on Wednesday. So awesome. Teddy, take us home.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you, Marianne. We'll talk another day. Hey, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
All right. Be good.
Bye-bye. Thanks again.